I'd like to just begin by saying to everybody, Happy Constitution Day. This is a beautiful day for us to celebrate some great things that are relative not only to our federal government, but to state government, to county government, and of course to local governments. And just briefly, I wanted to make sure that I defend myself against some of the things that you said that I just happen to disagree with, and I just really briefly want to defend myself and explain why I say the things that I say so that they're not in any way misconstrued, because I could promise everyone in this room that the last thing I want to do is offend somebody or make somebody feel like I'm not interested in what they believe. In fact, everything that I say is trying to gain a better understanding about why you have the agenda you have, and either why I'm wrong or if there's a way that I can demonstrate why I think you're wrong. And so with that, I would actually like to bring up a quote from James Madison. And I'm not typically the kind of guy who likes to throw a quote into something especially like this, but this struck me as directly related to something I said at the prior town council meeting. So this is what James Madison said, and let's just keep in mind that I believe this is a tremendously wise man. He wrote the Bill of Rights, and it is Constitution Day, so it's twice as relevant. So this is what he says, quote, "All new laws, though penned with the greatest technical skill and passed on the fullest and most mature deliberation, are considered as more or less obscure and equivocal until their meaning be liquidated and ascertained by a series of particular discussions and adjudications." Close quote. This is from essay number 37 in the Federalist Papers. Now, why do I think that this is such an important quote? You had said in the last meeting, you had said that you would ask that I just accept the fact that you had a set of opinions and that they're not my opinions. And I then said to you that, while I understand that we have disagreements, I'm not going to stop disagreeing with you, and it would be a lack of integrity on my part to stop trying to explain to you why I disagree with you. Now, the reason I had made the comment in reference to tyranny was this. If the implication is that because you have an opinion, I should just sit down and not try to pursue in trying to explain to you why I think your opinion is wrong, if you truly believe that I should sit down and not combat your opinion verbally, then that to me is borderline tyranny. And the only reason I say borderline is because you wouldn't have used physical violence to prevent me from doing it. But for example, when you told me that if I were to say anything, whatever it is, even if it does offend you, if I were to say something that offends you, that I'm to sit down, that is a violation of the First Amendment. There could be no question to that. If there is, I'm open to hear it, but I believe the First Amendment says, regardless of what you think of what I say, I can say it. That's a very important point to make. And just another point on having discussions. To me, the most beautiful and essential aspect of discussions is that it's about government transparency. So if you hold a view, like you believe in increasing debt, you believe in increasing spending, because you believe that it will, you had used the word financial planning, was the word that you had used. If you truly believe that, and that's, okay, I understand that you would truly believe that, in that case, in the interest...
You've misrepresented what I said. Continue, but just for the words I can't.
Could you make it clear so that I could fix myself? I could fix what I said? Okay, well, I don't know what I mischaracterized, but the point I was getting at is, in any instance where you have a particular opinion and I have a particular opinion, since I'm your constituent and you're my representative and my leader as well, if in my opinion you're going to be the most effective leader in making sure that I have the utmost confidence in any of you, then making it as clear as possible is part of doing your job. So that's why discussion is so extremely important to me. I'm not the kind of person who just sits down and you say something and I'm just going to let it slide. I'm a nitpicky kind of guy, as you might see. I need I need to have scrupulous analysis of things, especially in political issues, because it affects the rules that we have to follow. It affects our expenditures, and it affects our economy. And so that's why that's so important to me, and that's why I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this is where I'm coming from. Now I want to talk about property taxes really briefly. I had asked you at the last town council meeting if you would be able to give me a number, ballpark number, well, actually an exact number, I lied, an exact number, about over the last 25 years, exactly how many tax cuts we have had in East Windsor and how many tax increases we have had. And I'm talking strictly municipal tax rates. I'm not talking about the school board rate, and I'm not talking about the county rate. I just want to get an idea of what the trend is in East Windsor in terms of how it handles municipal taxation and municipal expenditure. I want to have it just, the reason I like 25 years is because we can see under various administrations and in lieu of what the economy has been at different times. So there's a real reason, obviously, and I think we all agree that there is a major reason why we talk about property taxes and why we look at them scrupulously. You know it because you've written about it. We actually are suffering from record-breaking poverty in the state of New Jersey, as many of you probably know. I'll give you an example. It was just put in the news last week, I believe. 52-year high in terms of the poverty rate. That's pretty outstanding. We're also, this isn't directly obviously affect East Windsor, but indirectly it does. New Jersey is the state that hosts the poorest city in the entire country. We also, again, we have the highest property tax rate. We have the highest debt per capita. I'm talking in terms of the state in the entire country. So this to me makes me very concerned. Now I've been doing a lot of research on the relationship between taxation and employment and spending and how the economy is doing. And evidence is compelling, extremely compelling, that when the tax rate keeps going up, so does poverty, and so does unemployment. A really good example is 1953. The unemployment rate was below 3%, and taxes were low, and spending was low, and there wasn't as much debt. And this is even adjusted for inflation. I could easily get you those numbers if you're interested. But so how does this relate to here in the municipal level? Well, we have the opportunity to be as scrupulous as we can with our budgets and aggressive as we can in terms of how we lower the municipal rate. And that is something that, to me, is an absolute priority. So I would certainly like to hear a lot about, obviously, the history of property tax rate municipally here. And I'd like to know about what you would like to do on the municipal level. I'm not talking about the areas where the state has unfairly imposed mandates on you, and I'm not talking about the county rate, and I'm not talking about the school rate. I want to know exactly what the municipal government here can do to ensure that we're going to have lower property taxes the next year. And I personally believe they should at least be frozen. I'd like to know what you would have to say about that. And a question I have briefly is, I looked up on the internet, obviously, just to do my homework before, and looked at this. And on the internet it says that you have 2 closed sessions tonight. I don't know if you're still going to have them or not, but it's not written on this piece of paper. And I don't think that's, it could just be a mistake, and I understand that. But I would hope that you take special care just to make sure that all of the information is always available for everybody in the public who come here but who didn't look at the internet. And last but not least, and this is really important to me, so please hear me out, because I'm in no way trying to make anybody feel patronized or offended or whatever negative connotation there could possibly be. I believe that discussion of goals and vision is extraordinarily important in terms of how a government presents itself, and in terms of giving the public an exact sense of what they're doing, where they're going, and what they have in mind, so that we get a sense of a government that is constantly advancing and improving the policies and the laws of the municipality. So I'm not going to go on and on about goals and vision, because you're right. I've said them. Of course, it is important to make sure that principles are said again and again. And you've asked me, or you stated that you didn't like that I constantly say the same thing over and over again. But I have to disagree in terms of saying that that's a bad idea, because if you look at any politician, if that politician has an agenda, he constantly reiterates his principles or her principles, and he constantly reiterates what he thinks should be done. I mean, Barack Obama's been talking about the same old goals that he's had since 2008. Ron Paul's been talking about the same thing since the late 70s, maybe even the early 70s. So it is important that I make sure that the things that are important are said constantly, so that I make it as emphatic as possible that these things could be changed and affected. And in terms of goals and vision, just very briefly, if I may, I'll wrap it up just very briefly. We want to have fiscal responsibility. We want to be at a point where there are no more property tax increases, but where we can have a series of cuts. There's also a point where we need to reduce debt. And debt is absolutely a problem. I heard somebody say a few weeks ago that we could safely take up more than $80 million of debt. That's not, in my opinion, true, considering the fact that I told you what happened. We all know about what happened in Detroit. We know what could happen in Chicago. We know about places in California, places in Alabama. And the economy in the country is not, by any stretch of the imagination, good. So anytime we're increasing debt in the state with the highest debt per capita will make us less and less attractive. And really the ideal, or the long-term goal, should be not to have debt, but instead to have like a true surplus, an emergency fund that we could always go to without hurting the fiscal shape of the municipality. And those are the points to me that are so important, that not only that you hear, but that everybody here who is part of the public hears and in the media. So I thank you so much for your time. I'll be extremely direct with you. I have a request for every member of the town council here today. And here is my request, my humble request, if you will hear me. My request is that you truly engage in discussion with me when I address my concerns, because there are concerns, and if for no other reason, if you please, if for no other reason, because so far as I can tell, you guys tend to agree with each other on a lot of issues, and so there's not too much dissent, and at the very least, a little bit of dissent is extremely healthy with any, a little bit of dissent is always extremely healthy within any governing body, because there's a sense of debate, there's a sense of looking at one side, and there's a sense of looking at the other side. So I really, truly do request that you truly hear me out, and if you believe that what I'm saying is wrong, that you would engage in discussion with me and help identify what my contradictions are. Because my goal, I believe, is actually the same as your goal. My goal is to advocate the best policies possible to promote prosperity at every level of government, and to do my part with that. And so I hope, with respect to that you recall some of the things that I said a little bit ago, talking about, again, the importance of discussion, talking about the relationship between taxes, spending, and debt, and the poverty that comes with it. And my question had been, what were the property tax rates municipally over the last 25 years? I think it's a fair and relevant question, absolutely, to ask you, which you did not answer, which I asked you last week. I asked all of you. And look, guys, I'm one of your constituents. I know that we have profound disagreements, clearly. I'm not trying to make any of you feel condemned. I'm just trying to be one gentleman who lives in East Windsor, who is trying to, like I said, promote the best policies and understand why the best policies are the best policies. And I ask that you guys would at least have the respect to talk to me. I'm asking that much. And I think that's fair to ask. And that's all that I want to say. It's just, it truly upsets me that you blew off every single thing that I said, and that you are paid to at least do that much. Thank you very much.